Hey, red flags of emotional repression part 65, authority issues. In KI, we usually say that authority issues are emotional repression issues. So today I want to clarify what we mean by authority issues and why they're so connected to emotional repression. One of my grandson Dan's favorite bands is an old second wave punk rock band called Propaganda. And they've got a great tune called Comply, Resist with the following lyrics. Don't comply and don't resist, because it don't make no difference. And that about sums up what it's like to be trapped inside emotional repression-produced authority issues. Compliance and resistance and the inevitable suffering brought about by both acts are our only two options when we've got buried and repressed emotions in our bodies. If we can remember back to when we were kids, which takes me back to the late 30s for Christ's sakes, if we look at our relationships with our primary caregivers, we may be able to identify which of these two strategies, compliance or resistance, we employed. Did we go along or comply with mom and dad, our authority at the time, or did we resist and go against them? In order to comply, most people have to bury and repress their powerful emotions like anger. And in order to resist or fight, most people have to bury and repress their vulnerable emotions like hurt, sadness, and grief. Now, the majority of people repress the whole gamut of emotions, but there will be one that's buried deeper, and that will be the one that affects the way that we show up in the world. It'll be the determining factor on whether we become compliers or resistors. So, is that starting to make sense as to why burying and repressing emotions creates authority issues? When we're in emotional repression, we're basically mommifying and dadifying everybody that we encounter. But in our unconsciousness, we usually don't even know it. We just think we're upset with our spouse or our boss or our government, right, for having to either comply or resist. Which is the same as saying for having to bury and repress our emotions and suffer like we did for mom and dad when we were kids in order to get our needs met. But here's the game change. When we start to recognize that both compliance and or resistance are substitute strategies for being ourselves, which means they're what we automatically and compulsively do in order to avoid acknowledging, accessing, feeling, and expressing what's true at the deepest level. And then we start to resolve our emotional repression, which is what's true at the deepest level. Both strategies, compliance and resistance, become unnecessary and obsolete. Which is another way of saying when you can truly be yourself, you're not going to have authority issues because you're in your power now. True freedom and power are in exact proportion to the ability to access, feel, and express the full range of human emotions. So if you'd like to rediscover that ability in yourself, tap the link in the caption or the bio.